Hello, thank you all for coming today. I'm Rowdy Vass, I'm a product manager at Oracle Cloud, and I imagine each and every one of you has some FinOps tool that you'd like to build. The offerings out there don't meet your needs perfectly. You have a custom workflow that you spend hours on each week, and I'm here to tell you that it's possible today, and I am not a technical person. I have built some tools that even I'm amazed are possible. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about why this moment and why the coding tools have gotten to a point where this is unlocked, what to use. I'm going to show it with Codex, but these things leapfrog each other every week. So I recommend you always stay on top of what's the strongest model, where to apply it. So we'll go through a handful of use cases from more basic to more complex. And then what are the best practices? What are the things that you can take with you to do this on your own? So before we go through step by step, I just want to show what's possible. So this is a FinOps tool I built internally that has multiple agents scanning our tenancy, looking at it from different angles, talking to each other, so they send messages to each other, ranking these issues, and giving us a prioritized view on what we should be doing, what action we should be taking, and exactly how do we take that action. So the workflows that matter most are unique to you. They are probably things that no provider, no third-party tool is ever going to make a product for necessarily. How many of you have an Excel sheet that you pull at least once a month and do something with? Or how many of you have a manual workflow that eats up a day or one engineer's time? So there's a lot of problems out there, and Oracle, any provider might not solve that exact problem, but we want to give you the tools so that you can. So the old model was you bend your workflow to the tools available. You pull this Excel file, you spend the manual time doing things. And today, what has become possible in the last 6 months is that you can build this yourself. You can make something strong enough and resilient enough to accomplish whatever task you may need. So let's talk about the MCP. So I'm sure all of you are aware of what MCPs are, but I like to think of it as a USB-C for AI to plug into your service, to any software and pull the information and utilize the tools available in that service. And so with one MCP connection, it opens up every possible action you can take within Oracle Cloud. Not only do you get access to the FinOps-related things like cost and usage, tags, Cloud Advisor, you get access to compute, database, to pull really detailed information on utilization and things that aren't always surfaced in the FinOps tools. FinOps loves a crawl, walk, run, so I'm going to crawl, then walk, and run through this. So these examples will go from sort of basic things like how do you get connected, to the most advanced things of how do you have agents that are scanning and actually monitoring your tenancy in real time. So connecting to our MCP is easy as 1, 2, 3, but the more I thought about it, you don't really need 1 or 2. You just tell the AI, hey, connect to this MCP, whether you're using Codex, Cloud Code, et cetera, it's all the same. It will go out, it will make the connection and get set up for you. So here's an example of a prompt. This is using Codex, and this is written very cleanly. I want to drop in some sort of best practices as we go along. One of the things is that if you speak to the AI, you're going to talk a lot more and reveal a lot more context than if you type it out. The average person will speak 3 times as much as they would type, and that context is rich in things that will help you get to the finish line faster. So I always recommend using a speech-to-text tool if available. I think the future of office work is going to be everyone whispering at their desks, which is a little weird, but that seems to be where we're going. So this was basically one shot. It came back with a UI in which I can click connect, authenticate, sign in and get connected to the MCP, and then I get this nice connection icon here. This is very important. 3 is important because it's hard to know if the thing is working unless you tell it to give you an indicator that's working. So this is a check I always like to have in place of, let me know in some way that I'm actually connected. So first big use case, where is there waste in my tenancy? This is probably a question every one of you asks, and so I want to start with a broad thing here. So build me a simple cost scanner. So we want to scan the tenancy and find the opportunities for optimization, where we're wasting money, et cetera. And so I think a thing here is, it's not in the prompt, but I always like to give more context when available. So one of my best practices is pulling the docs and dropping them in. Giving that context gives the AI the understanding of how to call certain things, how to pull information, which APIs open up which sources of data. And if you're too lazy to do that, which I was, you're going to ask it to go pull the relevant docs. So hey, go to Oracle, pull all the things that are relevant to this tool I'm building so that you have full understanding of what we're doing. So I'm not going to lie, this wasn't one shot, but after a little bit of back and forth, this is where we got. So you can see I have overall potential savings. There's a lot of waste here. I have a prioritized list of issues, a lot of unattached block volumes, and already with just a few hours of work, getting real value from this tool. I'm seeing where there's opportunities to optimize, and I'm seeing a lot of opportunities. I'm seeing a lot of things I can look into and investigate. Which leads to the next question, like, why is there an issue with this resource? So just give me the high-level view, doesn't really tell me a lot, and isn't really actionable. This is where I like to define an agent. So I like Simon Willison's definition of agents run tools in a loop to achieve a goal. To me, it's the most simple, it's straightforward, everyone can wrap their head around it. And so with this, the goal was, hey, investigate these issues until you can fill X, Y, Z elements and explain these key things to me that I need to understand about each issue. So we have another prompt. So we're asking it to investigate these issues and to add more rich detail to what's going on. I think there's a big thing with matching the fidelity of the prototype to the actual issue. And so in general, I don't say, hey, go build an agent. I say, build the best thing for this problem. And it's not always going to be an agent. If it's something really simple, it might just be a quick automation tool. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged thing. So always keep in mind the goal you're trying to accomplish and how big of a tool you need and complex of a tool you need to solve that issue. So after a few back and forths, we get this detailed issue page of the issue title, the savings, and this analysis of, hey, here's what's happening, here's why you should care about it, and what do we recommend you do, and what is the risk if you don't do it? With a lot of these issues, it's easy to say, oh, that's not a ton of money, but adding the element of risk can really layer in some context that gives you all the information you need to make a decision. About 3 months ago, there was a pretty big shift in AI with OpenClaw, and agents went from being reactive, you ask it a question, it goes and does something, to proactive and always on. And good and bad to this, but in general, you want to know what's going on with your tenancy in your account at any moment, and this adds value. So taking this from, we want you to go investigate, we want you to see these issues, et cetera, to constantly monitoring adds that real-time value, and it leads to a more valuable tool. So there's a couple ways that these tools are always on. One is that they have something called heartbeats. So every 10 minutes, every hour, every 2 hours, it's checking something or looking into issues. There's event hooks, so every time there's a cost spike or something like that, it could say, hey, we need to investigate this further. And there's thresholds. So if you're trending above a certain threshold, maybe there's a certain analysis that's triggered. But all of this is worthless if you can't act. So what is the action we need to take, and how do we remedy this? All this information is great, but if there's no action, nothing's getting optimized. So this is where governance and the idea of having a human in the loop really matters. I think there's a lot of tools out there that promise automated optimization and things like that, and that's great. But for me building this, I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I wanted this to have a human in the loop step before we took any action on these resources. So back to the issue page, you can see the issue title, you can see the analysis, and the recommendation on what we do and why it's a risk if we don't take action. And so you can see an available action. And that action describes, hey, you should make sure no data on these volumes is needed. You should consider creating a backup. And then here's the actual thing you need to copy paste to delete it if that's the action you choose to take. All right, those are demos, just trying to show that the world of possibility is growing, and you don't have to have a technical background to build a tool that is really valuable to you and your team. But I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts on how do you become better at building these things. So when you spin one of these things up, it's always a little bit uncomfortable of, is this actually working? So I like to do some kind of live check. That check is some indicator that, hey, this is actually connected to my tenancy. Here's the timestamp. That gives me a little bit of comfort knowing that it's actually connected. Sanity check. So each of you know your data really well. You know ballpark what things should be. So look into something that you know really well. Is the metric it's spitting out what you believed it would be, or is it way off? And finally, cross-check. You know, we open up our cost and usage data. You can easily pull it and check it directly against something the tool's saying to say, hey, this matches 1-to-1. It's a few pennies off. It's a few dollars off. You can do that to make sure that the tool, that gives you confidence that the tool you're building is grounded and the data is correct. I touched on some of these earlier, but in general, these are sort of the best practices that I share. So you want to match the fidelity to the workflow. You don't want to build a massive complex app if you just need some small automation. You want to use voice because you're going to get way more context across than if you were to type everything out. Plan mode really ensures that what you're building is going to be good. It's a helpful step to make sure that when you switch to act, it knows what it's doing and it's going to go build the right thing. I always recommend to use the strongest model for the job at the highest reasoning level. I know there's a lot of token maxing talk and pulling back token usage, but if you're building something your team is going to rely on, you really want to use the best tools available. And I always recommend, the models leapfrog each other all the time. Arena AI is really great for seeing by coding, writing, et cetera, what the top model at the time is. The 2 correction rule. You're gonna run into situations where you tell it to build something and it doesn't come back with that, or there's an error, or something's wrong. It's okay to push forward, but every time you push forward, it's doing something. So even if it's not solving your problem, but something is getting built, and that something getting built can make issues in the future. So if you find yourself running into a wall more than once, stop pushing through, take 2 steps back, and try again. So revert the code back and attempt again what you were trying to do. And overall, like when in doubt, ask the AI. I think a lot of people feel like they get stuck and they go to videos, they go ask friends, etc. The AI can unstick you better than almost anyone. And so just saying, hey, like, here's where we're at, here's what I'm thinking, what do we do next? So as far as where all of this is headed next, I think there's 3 things that are really important to touch on. And I feel like these 3 things, since I locked these slides 2 weeks ago, have even changed since then. So these are constantly evolving, but I think these are critical to the tools you're building. So as far as memory, agents can now self-improve. So you tell an agent to do something, it recognizes a pattern of, hey, this user's asked me to do this 2 or 3 times. It builds a skill to do that thing, and then it refines that skill over time. So when you bake in this sort of self-improving loop, whatever tool you're building can get better and more tuned to your needs each time you run it. And I think that's a very important concept because this is starting to get baked into Claude, this is baked into OpenClaw and some of these things, and it's really amazing that it has this ability to reflect, improve, and move forward. Once you build one agent, you're gonna think, oh, I'm gonna build tons of agents, and they're gonna do every single thing for me, which was my inclination, and I think it's just natural to be like, oh, this thing's cool. What if we had like 4 of these things, and they did these things in concert together? And the structure, when you do that, is really important. There's this idea of a network structure where they're all doing their own thing but talking to each other. That can be good for brainstorming or straw man of some argument, et cetera. But in general, for day-to-day work, a supervised structure adds the most efficiency to what you're doing. So with a supervised structure, you can have a manager agent, usually run with a higher level model, and then you can have agents below it that are run on cheaper, more efficient models. And what that does is the manager agent can define the work and then pass that to the agents below, and they can complete that work with the very specific guidance at a lower cost. So this is constantly evolving. Claude just introduced that they can spawn these structures with each prompt, which just, sort of seems to me like a very token maxi type thing, but this is continuing to change. And finally, all of this is inherently multi-cloud. MCP is a connector. Every major cloud provider has an MCP server. FOCUS is a common language for cost and usage, and the agents have the ability to consolidate the data from all your clouds. So whatever you build, by taking the steps to connect to each cloud and have it consolidate that information, you can build a multi-cloud tool as easy as you can build a tool for a single cloud. So at Oracle, we're trying to be the most open, agent-friendly cloud there is. So I would love it if you all scan this, answer a few questions about what you're building, what you're hoping to build in the future, because we want to give you the tools, the context, the training, et cetera, to build whatever you can imagine and solve all your problems. Thank you. All right, any questions? I didn't have a Q&A slide.
Thank you. We do have time, lots of time for Q&A, so start throwing them in. Who would like to start off? Back in the back.
Hello. How common is it for you guys to have people moving away from approved Terraform modules to using MCPs?
I don't know if we've seen that a ton yet, or we haven't. That hasn't been surfaced to us, so not yet.
That's probably good.
Who else? Question? Getting off easy.
All right. Thank you all. Really appreciate the talk.
Oh, wait, one more. Don't be sorry. This is the place to learn. Here you go.
I'll just ask a question. By the way, this is Deepan from AWS. My question is more about the orchestrator agent approach which you showed. Right?
Yeah.
I was curious, what is your point of view on human in the loop approach for that? Like, does it show better promises with human in the loop?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the manager agent. As long as it knows when to stop and get approvals, then it's fine. It's not like the sub agents are going to go off and do something without approval, as long as they're told to just report back their findings to the manager. So as long as the manager agent is the one controlling that governance, I think it's fine.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thanks for watching. Check out the rest of our channel for more FinOps content. Like, subscribe, and leave questions and comments for our speakers. We appreciate your support.